What is going on, everybody? This is going to be my review for the first season of Baki the Grappler. I know a lot of people have seen the Netflix show, and that is a continuation from the first two seasons, which came out in the late 90s and early 2000s. Why they decided to continue it on so late, I couldn't tell you. Now, are the first two seasons worth it? Because when I started Baki on Netflix, I was really confused. Now, the first two seasons, are they worth a look? Yes. Just for the backstory, and it fleshes out so many of the characters that are on the damn Netflix series that you don't really get a chance to know. They just kind of show you and give you a little bit of a backstory on them, but you don't really connect with those characters as much unless you've seen them in the previous seasons. And I'll just go ahead and something else that you don't really get an eyeful of until you watch the first few seasons is that Yujiro Hanma is a bastard. Baki has literally the worst two parents on planet Earth. There are worse anime parents. Ragyo Kiryuin from what is that show she's on? Kill la Kill. Yeah, Kill la Kill. She is probably worse or about as bad as Yujiro. It's just different levels of bad. Now, when we first picked the story up, Baki has been training since he was very small to fight Yujiro. I'm talking his mother's rich. She has been paying people, all these personal trainers and stuff, for years to build Baki's strength up so that Yujiro would be happy with her. And Yujiro has her so mentally and emotionally manipulated, she is willing to do anything to make him happy. Anything. Even arranging fights for Baki. When it starts up, Baki is fighting 50 guys because her mother helped arrange it. 50. He's fighting 50 punks, street punks. And he gets through about 20-25 of them before the cops break it up and take him home. But the whole first arc is the lead up to fighting Yujiro. And once he realizes that the trainers that his mother's hired aren't making him any stronger, he heads to the forest to train with one of his dad's old friends. He goes and trains with an old friend of Yujiro's who used to go up in the woods and train with him all the time. And he starts to tell him stories of the Yasha ape. Apparently his dad, however many years prior to the story starting, killed one of the Yasha apes. They've still got its skull. He decides to go challenge the Yasha ape and almost dies. He trains a little bit, gets ready, goes back to fight the Yasha ape again, wins. And then, I mean, that whole fight, I'm just giving you the cliff notes here. That whole fight is really good. That part of the story is really good. And it kind of ends really heartfelt. So if you can get a chance, I don't know of any streaming services that have it right now, but if you look hard enough, wink wink, if you look hard enough, you can find it. The second season as well. And the whole time that the storyline with the Yasha ape is going on, his mother is arranging a fight for him with a Yakuza boss named Kaoru Hanayama, who is 50. He's like 15 years old and built like a damn dump truck. He is huge. And he's got this technique where he grabs people's arms and like mashes the muscle until their muscle like explodes. It looks really painful. Like I was watching that and it kind of hurt me some. He used it up. There was a boxer earlier in the story that he's like a featherweight, middleweight. Baki went and challenged him and barely lost. And when he came back from the training session with the Yasha ape, Hanayama had tracked down the boxer, whose name was Yuri, and bursted one of his muscles as kind of a, I'm going to irritate Baki, because Baki had become friends with him. Baki and Hanayama end up fighting, and in the middle of all this, Yujiro's back in town. Baki barely edges a win out. Barely beats Hanayama. When Yujiro jumps out of a helicopter through the skylight and then proceeds to beat them both like they owed him money. For no other reason than he thought it was funny. Hanayama wanted to challenge Yujiro anyway. But, you know, they were both beat. They were both tired. Yujiro jumps down and just chumps them off like they're nothing. And it's at this point where you meet Jerry Stridham, who is, if you've seen the Netflix Baki, he's the U.S. Army colonel that you see with some of the floating around there with some of the characters. He knew Yujiro in Vietnam, and they go into that in the second season. But he's kind of the U.S. liaison with Yujiro because nobody messes with Yujiro. Nobody. No government, no state, no nothing. Yujiro is the most powerful creature on Earth. Nobody messes with him. We're talking about somebody that during the Vietnam War was taking out entire platoons of soldiers with his bare hands. Yujiro gives no fucks. After that whole scenario dies down, Stridham comes to Baki to help him try to get ready to fight Yujiro, and he sends him into this forested area where a military unit has kind of taken over, and they keep messing with the JDSF. But they don't kill anybody, they just severely wound them and send them all out, and they don't even see them. They send Baki in all alone, and he manages to take out everybody pretty easily with the exception of the leader. And the leader, if you've seen the later seasons of Baki, he kind of got booed when he showed up. It was Gaia. And you find out during this storyline, Gaia's got a split personality. He's like a regular cowardly, like combat medic 1 minute, and in the next minute he's crazy ass Gaia. Well, Baki manages to edge out a win with that, and one of the things, like, he's got this thing where he doesn't really get a lot of affection from his parents, but most of these other people he gets into it with, he kind of forms bonds with to make up for that. Hanayama's kind of like an older brother. Gaia feels a little bit responsible for him. Stridham's kind of like his uncle. I mean, it's, you know, they start to have feelings for him. They care for him, and he cares about them. He's not like his dad, who just cares about beating the hell out of people and moving on to the next thing. You know, he actually wants to form connections with people. And after that storyline, we start getting up to the big fight. Yujiro's in town. He's ready to fight. Everybody believes that Baki might be able to win. So they're trying to help him train. Yuri and Hanayama spar with Baki for like 12 hours before the fight. Which I thought was, I'm like, how the hell are you not going to be tired by the end of that? Sparring for 12 hours. I mean, I know it's an anime, but still. And Guy decides he's going to try to go take out Yujiro, because when you first meet Guy, he's put up as kind of like as bad or worse than Yujiro, which is bullshit. And Guy is full of himself, so he decides to go take out Yujiro before things can even escalate to that point. And he calls him a child abusing piece of garbage, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like, somebody's calling it out. Thank you. But by this point, Baki has set it into his head that he has to beat Yujiro to receive his mother's love. And Yujiro's already told Emi, who is Baki's mother, he's done with her. He doesn't want anything to do with her because Baki's too weak and she failed to give him what he wanted. So she starts to blame Baki for it, for being weak, and he's like, I'll beat him. I'll beat him, mother. Just love me, mother. You know, just like I said, the worst parents, some of the worst parents in anime. Like, I know there's probably a handful worse, but geez. So everybody gathers around for this fight. You've got Stridham, you've got Hanayama, Yuri's there, most of the street punks, Yujiro's old friend that Baki had went to train with. Everybody's there. A small earthquake kicks off, and Yujiro punches the ground to stop it because he wants no interruptions. And I'm like, everybody should have known there what the hell was up. So Baki goes after Yujiro, and Yujiro beats the shit out of this kid. I'm talking, he wails on him, and then you've got all these people off to the side, like Stratum and all of them, to their horror. They're like, how could we have ever thought that he could take Yujiro? And I'm like, how could you? You basically fed this 13-year-old kid to a wild animal at this point. You hyped him up, you made him believe he could win, and there was just no way. I mean, everybody there, most of them knew his history. There was no way. So he borderline just about kills Baki. His mother's conflicted off to the side, and she decides to throw herself in front of Yujiro to try to fight to save her son. Finally, you know, after years of putting him through the ringer, she decides to step up and be a parent for 5 seconds. And Yujiro slaughters her. He kills her, busts her eardrums, breaks her back, throws her on top of her son. And yet he is not satisfied, so he turns on the onlookers. Hanayama, Yuri, Stratum, anybody that's standing there. Yujiro tears through them like toilet paper. They are nothing. He's irritated. He beats the shit out of everybody. He gets in his helicopter and he leaves. And Baki is devastated. He ends up carrying his mother's wedding ring through town, and he buries it next to a bridge. And I think they did a callback to that in the Netflix series. And then he decides he's going to leave for however many years it takes and comes back and try to kill Yujiro or beat Yujiro. And he's going to do it for his mom. And that's pretty well how the first season ends. I didn't cover some things in this review. I encourage you to watch it. I think there's about 15, 20 episodes maybe in the first season. I know there's at least 26 in the second, and I'll review it next time. But I recommend it, especially if you're into the Netflix show. Please do jump into Baki the Grappler. It's a really good show. I killed 2 or 3 days just sitting and watching the first season. The second season was even better. I'll have that review up in a few days. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any comments, if you watched it and you liked it, if you watched it and you didn't like it, feel free to throw it in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.